Welcome back, everyone. This is Elevated Duty Podcast. This is another week of knowledge, interviews, and letting to know people. This week we have a lot of people in the table. First of all, I want to introduce you to Sergeant First Class Loreedan Reyes. Thank you, Sergeant, for being here.
Thank you for having us.
On my far right over there,
I'm Specialist Goss, and I just enlisted 2 months ago.
I am Private First Class Bauer, and I enlisted in February of 2023.
So, First Sergeant, you're part of the Recruitment Retention Battalion, and you're also part of the RSP program. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that is correct. So I've been with recruiting since 2018. I've been a cadre since then and graduated drill sergeant school July of last year, 2023. So the RSP, or the Recruit Sustainment Program, is a program that we have for the National Guard, specific for the Colorado Army National Guard. What we try to do at RSP is to ensure the readiness to be administratively, physically and mentally, for all the soldiers getting ready to go to basic training, and for those who are getting ready to go to their advanced individual training, or AIT. So their initial active duty training, we just try to get them as prepared as they can be, so when they get there, right, they're ahead of the power curve.
So one thing is that we have two folks here today that they are one already went to basic training and one is planning to go to basic training. PFC Bauer, can you talk on how was that experience for you? Going to basic training.
I thought basic training was really fun. Definitely going, starting at RSP, you kind of get a feel of what you're stepping into. You learn a little bit of rank, soldier's creed, just basic knowledge that you're gonna need at basic. But basic overall, I thought was fun. Definitely challenging at times, hard being away from home, especially because I'm a senior in high school, so it was my junior summer. So first time being away from home, kind of hard. Just dealing with people every day, kind of a struggle, but just keep pushing.
So you did the split training, so you're planning to go to AIT, right?
So my AIT is actually going to get canceled because I'm rewriting my contract for ROTC.
Okay, that's great.
I'm applying for the Man-at-Man
So
scholarship.
That's great. You mentioned before we come here, you join as a 09 Sierra. Can you explain a little bit on your own words? What's that?
So with the 09 Sierra, essentially I'm going to leave the basic training this summer. I leave June 17th. I come back. I get to drill with a unit in Colorado. And it's a unit, luckily, that I hopefully can branch into one day. And then starting in March, I get to do the state OCS, which is great because it's 18 months long, but it's still my 1 week in a month and the training during the summer. So I still can have my civilian job on top of that and be able to commission.
So you have a bachelor's degree, right?
Correct. I actually have a master's degree.
Oh wow, that's great. What is your bachelor's degree at, and what's your master on?
Both of them are in criminal justice.
Okay, that's great. That's that's great, and that's you already know what is your wish list for branching?
I have a couple ideas. Hopefully something where I can get a top secret clearance. So intelligence, signal, those are my top two, but I'll see in about 2 years.
That's great. And that's what we tell folks out there. On the previous podcast, Sergeant Dupuy mentioned that is so that we have the civilian acquire specialty program. It's like you come and you already have some knowledge, or you have already certifications. We count those and we take care of those, and we appreciate that you already have that experience and education, and the 09 Sierra is a way to do it. So Sergeant First Class, can you tell us or can you tell people they already have a bachelor's degree, what are the options in the Colorado Army National Guard?
So some of the things you can do, so if you have a bachelor's degree, right, you can get automatically enlisted as an E4 or specialist into Colorado Army National Guard. And then from there, right, you can either go into the enlisted side as an E4, or you can sign up as a '09 Sierra or '09 Romeo, depending on, or actually I take that back, just '09 Sierra, because '09 Romeo is going through ROTC. '09 Sierra is going through the OCS program. So in the state, we have 3 different ways that you can get into OCS. First one is the state OCS, which is about 18 months long. That's your 1 week in a month. And then you do some phases over the summer. The other one is the federal OCS, which is about, 3 or 4 weeks long. And then the accelerated OCS is pretty much the state OCS program condensed into, 4 to 8 weeks.
Okay, that's great. There's options out there, and one of the great things of state OCS is that you can come back and keep doing your daily job and go drill on the weekends, and you don't need to stop for months. There's some branches and especially bow league, they're like, then it's like 2-3 months.
Yep.
If you go federal. So if you don't want to do that, then there's the option that you can go one week in a month, which is a great option. So I want to touch on RSP. So how long you been in RSP? I know you recently transferred to be a drill sergeant, but how long you been an RSP member?
In the Colorado Army National Guard, or just overall?
You've been on RSP over in other states?
Yeah, so I was
that's great.
with the Virginia Army National Guard, so I was RSP cadre there for about 2 years. And then since 2018, when I came to the battalion, I was an RSP cadre, and then I had about 1 year break. I went to, instead of doing RSP, I did retention for about a year, and then came back with a drill sergeant slot to go to school. So came back, all right, now I'm a drill sergeant. So give or take about 8 years almost as a cadre.
Okay. So what are your, what do you recommend those folks that, they're joining now? They are planning to, they got to go to RSP. What are your tips for them? Like, do this, don't do that. Go over, ranks or like basic knowledge.
Yeah, so RSP is definitely a great program. I think everyone who enlists should at least do 1 or 2 drills, before going to basic training. I highly encourage that because it gives them a heads up and kind of helps them out while they're at basic training. So, so we have 3 different phases at RSP. So you have red phase, white phase, and green phase. So Private Goss or Specialist Goss is a red phase trainee, and Private Bauer is a green phase. So the phases just means if you're a red phase, it's your first drill. You've only been in, 1 to 2 months. And then green phase is someone who has come back, right? So I didn't really talk about...
they already went to basic.
Right.
Okay.
So I didn't touch on green phase. So pretty much they have, OCPs, uniforms already. So the other phases, white and blue that I talked about. White phase is, you've been there a little bit over 2 to 3 months, right? And you are not shipping yet. Our blue phase trainees are the ones that are... So they're the ones that are getting ready to go to basic training. So it's going to be their last drill with us at RSP. So as soon as they get there, they're going to be getting trained on, Army values, rank structure, general orders, military time, phonetic alphabet. So kind of just the basics of, what they're going to be expected to do. That helps them kind of give them a leg up when they get to basic training. A lot of that stuff, active duty soldiers and other soldiers who don't have programs like this, right? When they get to basic training, they're kind of lost in the sauce and they don't know what really to expect. Other than they know that there's going to be a drill sergeant there and they're going to get yelled at, right? But for our soldiers, our trainees here at RSP, they already know some of that basics, so they're not, digging too much into the books and, stressing out about, what is, how do I tell military time or how do I say phonetic alphabet? At the same time, they have to learn the soldier's creed, which is pretty long. And then their general orders, kind of just letting know what to expect and what they're supposed to do and not do. So kind of give you a breakdown. So we usually have Friday to Sunday. So Friday night they'll get there, and as soon as they get there, we'll kind of do what's called a shakedown. So a shakedown is just, we get all their gear, and we make sure that they don't have any contrabands, right? So this is kind of like their first experience of what basic training is going to look like. Day zero, once they get to their basic training company and they have drill sergeants, right? They're going to do a shakedown, all that stuff. So, we're always telling them, move with a sense of purpose, right? Because it's the transition from civilian to soldier. Once they get there, a lot of them really don't have, the military bearing yet, but we start instilling that as soon as they get there, on that Friday. So moving with a sense of purpose, not walking, learning how to go everywhere with a battle buddy, because that's something that you're going to do at basic training all the time. So they can speak as far as what happens when you don't have a battle buddy and you don't stand at, certain positions. So talking to a drill sergeant or an NCO, they have to stand at position of parade rest.
Mm-hmm.
So they've experienced that numerous times. So
Yep.
So one thing that you mentioned, you're a drill sergeant, and a lot of new soldiers, they see the drill sergeant like the enemy, and you are not the enemy. I wanna hear from you, since you already went to basic training. After going to basic training, how do you see the drill sergeant now?
I see them like as a teacher almost, because they're there to help you. So anything you need, you ask them a question. If they don't know the answer, they'll try and help you out. They'll find the answer. So
yeah. So I expected a similar answer to that. I believe drill sergeants are like our mentors. So once probably you'll notice, once you go to basic training, one of the things you'll see is that they'll push you, but it's not there. Like they'll get on top of you, and it's not because they have something personal with you. But if they see something in you, they're gonna push hard on you, because they know that if you can give more, they're gonna ask more. So I think that's one of the main things. Like they drill sergeants want soldiers to be better, and my drill sergeants were always on top of me, because I was the fastest. Not anymore, but I was the fastest on my company. I could run my 2-mile run like in 11:46, something like that. But I was like 60 pounds less, so I was tiny. I was skinny. I want to ask you, especially Goss, right?
Correct.
Did I say it right? What are your questions about basic training? And this is an open conversation. Just ask whatever, and then I want Sergeant Reyes or PFC Bauer here to answer you. And if I can add, then I'll add to it, because that's what I want. I want someone that hasn't gone to basic training to ask legitimate questions about how basic training is, because when I went there, I was scared. It was my first time in mainland. So if I have an accent now, my accent was like, whoa. And they made me PG right out of the bat. I'm like, oh, this is great, But what questions do you have? Any questions about basic training? How it's gonna be, reception? Random questions like food, whatever you think.
Well, to start, I mean, the one good thing about RSP is we have so much classroom time as well. It's not just getting smoked all day.
Okay.
So the past 2 days I've been able to ask a pretty decent amount of questions too. So it is nice to be able to talk to people who have been to boot camp and the drill sergeants and everyone, like everyone at RSP is very open to helping us, which is awesome. I think from where I'm at right now, I guess just like any tips, like now that you both have, dealt with me for a couple months now. What kind of tips do you have specifically for me to help like prepare? I have like 2 more months left. What would you recommend for me?
So, for anyone that's getting ready to go to basic training, I think the biggest thing that a lot of people fear is that they think that you have to be, this jacked up, person, and you're hitting the gym 4 hours at a time, right? So for me, I'd rather take someone who is mentally capable and mentally fit, because we can train someone to do, the hard things like the push-ups and the runs and all these things, right? But if you're not mentally prepared, the moment that you tell yourself that this is hard and I want to quit, right, the body will eventually follow, right? Because the body doesn't control your mind, but, your mind controls everything else. So if you've registered that you want to quit and that you can't do it anymore, yes, you will tap out.
Okay.
But if you tell yourself, hey, this is challenging, I've come to that conclusion that it is going to be challenging. There's going to be some ups and downs. But if you tell yourself that, hey, I'm going to make it and I'm going to push through, right? I'm going to give it my max effort, and you'll be just fine, right? Take everything and, be a sponge, absorb everything as much as you can. And that's all basic training is.
Okay.
For everyone thinking that it's the super difficult thing, it's really not. It's all in your head, and rely on your peers, right? So when you get there, you're gonna have over 200 other trainees that's gonna be there with you. So if you don't learn to rely on people, and you are an individual and stay that way, you're gonna make it harder for yourself.
Okay.
Right? As a drill sergeant, we're going to tell you where to be, right? What you need. Pretty much do as you're told, when you're told, how you're told.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And if you don't know, just look to your left and right, and somebody on your left and right will know what they're doing. So just follow. And if they are doing it wrong and you get in trouble, you all get in trouble. That's how the military is. Is a one team, one fight. And if you guys make the mission happen, it will be a team effort. If you fail, it's gonna be a team effort too. And if you're gonna get jail, as a group, unless you messed up to a next level. Then it's gonna be on you alone. But that's rare, right? I think that's rare. Like usually it's like, that's why they the way I see it. At first I was like, I don't know why they do mass punishments.
So I wouldn't really say punishment anymore.
Yeah.
It's mass correction.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So the easiest way to correct someone, right? Because, as a drill sergeant, there's going to be, like I said, over 200 of y'all. So if someone's messing up and I take the time to correct that one person, and then someone else does it again, right? How much time are we wasting at that point? Instead of, hey, we could all learn from this, right? If we do correction as a group, right? Someone's going to be like, hey, there's going to be a light that light bulbs that comes on and say, hey, we are, this is too many times that this is happening. So now we have to correct it. And hopefully, right, for someone maybe in the back, right, that's trying to be not seen, they'll be like, okay, I finally get it, because this is happening way too many times, right? So usually they'll tell you, at least for me as a drill sergeant, I ask, do you know why we're down here, or why we're doing push-ups or this other corrective action, right? Because I can't fault you if I have not trained you. So for me, I make the correction once, right? And then if it happens again, then, Now we're doing mass correction.
And I wanna mention that goes to the back to the root of on how the army does things. It's similar to the AAR. It's like, hey, if you are messing up here again and again and again, just go back on how similar units or similar missions happen. Read the AAR, the after action report, and see what went right, see what went bad, see what they did to fix it if they had the mission again. And I think to a certain level it's kind of similar. If, hey, he messed up, don't do that, and then the drill sergeant will teach you how to correct that and how to avoid getting in trouble.
Right. So it's just lesson learned, right? We do after action reviews every month before the end of the drill to see what went right, what went wrong, how we can improve on these certain things. Usually, and I don't know if you had me as a drill sergeant when you were your very first drill, but a lot of the times I'll kind of correct you, right? Unless I'm talking to the whole group as a group. Mm-hmm. But if you are doing something wrong individually, I will correct you, and then if I start to see it happening, right? So a lot of the times we rely on like people who've been there a while, whether they're white phase or the green phase soldiers. We rely on them. We're already teaching them a little bit of leadership because we shouldn't always have to correct every single one, and we have to rely on you to get all the newer recruits to say, hey, this is what you're supposed to do, right? You stand at parade rest when you're talking to an NCO or a drill sergeant, right? You move with a sense of purpose. You have a battle buddy everywhere you go, right?
Yep.
And then at some point, when that doesn't happen and we see it more than just one or two times, now we have to correct the group because maybe, we were just yelling and you guys weren't listening and you guys were just anxious, nervous, and we're just like, hey, I'm here, right? It's like the lights on, but nobody's home because that fear, right? Because the unknown, right? We're afraid of what's going to happen, so we're just trying to do what everyone else does, and then you're following the wrong person instead of the right one. So now everyone's doing, they're in a scramble and they don't know what's going on, and so everyone now is a mess, and so now we have to correct that, right? Because we need to have that standard, that uniformity, right? This is where we build the foundation. This is where the structure happens.
So I want to go back to the good things. We messed up, but there's also a good stuff that happened. So PFC Bauer, what was the best part of basic training for you?
For me, there was definitely the camaraderie. There's like 3 friends that I still talk to every day, and then I think throwing grenades was awesome. So that was cool, and just shooting, like I think it was like Blue Phase was like 3 weeks, I think so. Shooting every day for about 3 weeks, that was fun. And then also just working out. I enjoy working out. So
what are you looking for from basic specialist?
Definitely doing something outside of what I do in my civilian job and just gaining more, skills, leadership skills especially, and just doing something different, honestly. That's what I'm looking forward to.
So one thing I didn't mention is that, when you join, like, your reason to join is different. My reason to join might not be the same reason why Sergeant Reyes joined. So what was your reason to join?
Family. So one of my grandpas was a Marine. My other grandpa was in the Army. And then my sister, she's also serving in the National Guard right now as well.
On Colorado?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, she's at ROTC up at UCCS, and then with 920th Medical Unit on Fort Carson. So.
Oh, that's great. Give her a shout out. Say hi to her.
What's up, Brooke?
And what about you?
For me, biggest thing was I've been trying to join the military since out of high school, but now I'm in a really good place in my life where it's finally happening. Paying off my student loans. So thank you, Colorado National Guard. And then also now I have the opportunity to get my PhD paid for, since Colorado is one of like 2 or 3 states that has state tuition assistance that goes towards a doctorate. Not every state's like that, so it's pretty awesome.
That's great. That's great to hear. And again, like I'm finishing my bachelor's still, and as I told you before the podcast, I'm going the route to be an officer. I'm still building my packet. Physical is done. 705. We did the ACFT. Was it last week?
It was earlier this week.
Yeah. Oh, it was this week.
Yeah.
Jeez, everything's going so fast that I think it's last week.
And that's kind of like, what I want to point that out, because everyone thinks that 6 years with the Colorado Army National Guard is a long time, right? But everyone gets so busy. Like, I'm sure Private Bauer, right? From the time that you enlisted to now, you're like, man, I already knocked out 1.5 years of my contract, right? Getting in as a junior. I mean, time flies, like I don't even remember my first 6 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was last week, or this week flew like boom. So so no questions about basic training.
I feel like I probably asked too many over this past weekend.
That's great. That means RSP is doing a great job to answer all those questions.
Definitely.
And again, I think I mentioned this before on this podcast. When I joined the reserve. The reserve doesn't have the RSP program. They have what is called
delayed entry,
future soldier program, which you, instead of going, you go straight to your unit, you drill with them, but then there's a down part with that. Is like they already know everything, and like you might not have the mentorship you get on RSP, where you are like you have drill sergeants with you teaching you, and they already have they're trained to work with new soldiers, and they know a way to teach them, because they're coming fresh from civilian to be a military member, a soldier. So for me, the future soldier program worked a little bit, but then it was evident the difference from the soldiers that went to RSP or they did the English school, because if you go to the English school, then you have drill sergeants and they'll teach you all the movements, all the discipline that like is muscle memory. If you have a higher ranking officer, you stand on attention, or like if you have an officer, you stand on attention. If you have a high NCO, you stand on parade rest and stuff like that. So for me, like I had to like basically watch them, and I'm like, oh, I'm messing up here and there. So, but you can tell the difference once you go to basic training. You'll be like, oh, I'm ahead of like everybody. Especially. Did that happen to you?
Yeah, so I went to one drill before shipping off to basic, and getting there, like you're looking around, everybody's like, what am I doing? But then you can definitely tell the people who have been to RSP or like come from a like JROTC or ROTC background, because they have like that past knowledge of
you can tell the difference. For me, it was a shock. It felt like when I went to college, and I was behind on some classes because probably my high school wasn't that good at teaching those classes. And when I went to college, I needed that. If I felt the same way, I'm like, I'm behind on this, so I gotta catch up.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I know you said you were reserves and you did the future soldier, part of the late entry program. So were you getting paid every time you show up to one of those things?
So you get paid every time you show up to the drill.
Okay.
But we had so the future soldier program. It depends on your station commander, which is because you, instead of going to RSP, you gotta go to your recruiter.
Oh, I see.
So your recruiters will like we had to go every Wednesday, and every Wednesday we had like a little bit of formation. We had almost an ACFT. Well, it was APFT by then. So we had like a mile. We had 111.
Okay.
We had a one. Yeah, we had a 111 every Wednesday. So it helped because you're like, I I need to do more push-ups, or I need to run more. So he helps you to assess. But then on the military part, which I was really good on my physical part, but on the military part, they barely touched that. So it was more like go with your recruiter to do PT.
So was
basically.
that a mandatory thing?
No,
No.
it's not. No.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that signed once they go to Madison and they never showed up to the Future Soldier program.
And then also as a part of that, if you do go, does that, does your time in service start at that point, or does it start?
Yeah, it starts because your time in service starts since the moment you sign the contract.
Okay.
Because let's say I signed the contract this week, and then I go and do everything, like get my ID card and everything, and then 3 weeks later I have drill. I can show up straight to my unit.
Okay.
So they can do like an in process, but you gotta in process again once you come from basic training. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of is different, and again I think RSP program, like seeing, speaking to you guys, and I was there a couple of months before. I see the work you guys do there, and you can tell I can tell soldiers on the RSP program are getting a head start, and I've seen a lot of our soldiers once they come back, they're distinguished or honor grad.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I know from the command staff and what they were telling us at RSP was, I think within the last 6 months to a year, we've had at least 6 Soldier of the Cycles graduate. So for those of you guys listening, what that means is a Soldier of the Cycle is you're the top soldier in your basic training company, out of 200 plus soldiers. So you're the most distinguished at basic training. And I think the great thing about RSP as well is that, for you two, you guys might know each other now here in RSP, and you think you're going to go to base training and, either go to OCS or go to your AIT and come back and never see each other again. So what's great about RSP is that some of you guys will already, know each other. So once you get to your unit, and some of those units do cross-train sometimes, and you guys will, run into each other someday. Maybe it's the range, right? Maybe it's, some sort of training that you guys might all be at. So, for me, I think it was earlier this year, I was at Fort Carson, and a soldier just came up to me like, "Hey, do you remember me? I was at RSP, not too long ago." So I think that's pretty neat when it comes to RSP, is that, we'll all see each other again. We might be working with you guys at some point, right? So as an officer, probably I'll be saluting you guys downrange sometime.
That's great, and that's I think Army is a small world. Currently we are less than 1%, right?
Yeah, we're the 1%ers of the population.
Yeah, it used to be 1%, but I think is less than that with the population growing. Networking. That now I just mentioned that you might know people on RSP that later on your career, that's a networking that meeting people and building those connections there, and you're like, oh, I know someone here, I know someone there, and then you might be a readiness NCO in the future, and if you want to cross train, you want to do something else, something different for your soldiers, that's something that starts right there in RSP.
That's right.
So one thing you mentioned in the beginning, you are a recruiter. I want you to touch on that. Where you recruit out of?
Okay, so I'm a recruiter in southern Colorado, more specific in the Alamosa area, San Luis Valley. So for me as a recruiter, I cover a little bit west of Trinidad, and then I have everything south and all the way west out to like Durango and all that. So I have another recruiter that's working for me. So Specialist Martinez is the other recruiter down there. But it's a big area. It's about, 1/4 of the state.
Yeah. And, we recently I was there with you. It was like March 13, 14.
Yes.
And we you did San Luis Valley Career Fair, right?
Yeah, so the San Luis Valley Career Fair is tailored to, all the different school districts there in the valley for all high school students. And what's nice about that is, speaking of networking, right, I'm part of a career fair committee down there that we help host that, and we kind of orchestrate and organize all this. So we put on the logistics, a bunch of meetings to kind of get these things going. And, the turnout is great. So if you're, a high school student in San Luis Valley, we're there twice a year. It's usually the Wednesday before spring break and the Wednesday before Thanksgiving break. So, we try to get as many different career fields out there to kind of just, explore a little bit of that career path, because, even in the military, some of these career paths that students might want, we might also already have in the Colorado Army National Guard.
Yeah, and one thing I saw is like some of the career path, some of those students want, they have their civilian employee there too. So for example, like they have a welding company, and they were like, I'm leaning towards welding. I'm like, we have welders in the military, and they're like, what? Yeah, we have. I think it's 91 Echoes.
Yes.
Well, so I say, hey, get our training. You get our training, our certifications, and then you drill with us one week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer, and you work with them. So you get the benefit here, and then you work for them, and and it's everything right there in the career fair. So it was a great event.
Right. Yeah. So we try to educate a lot of the students, not just students as well, but just the community in general. Because when we walk around in this uniform and they think we're active duty, but not just that. A lot of students have this mindset of when they enlist, they think that they're going to be pretty much infantry, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that is the basis of, basic training. But they don't realize that we have so many jobs from, food service specialists to human resources and all the different trades that we have. They don't realize that.
Yeah. So, who was your recruiter?
Sergeant Dupuy.
Who was your recruiter?
Sergeant Martinez.
Sergeant Martinez, Amanda.
Correct.
Okay, that's great. They're both great recruiters. We had Sergeant Dupuy previous podcast. So if you haven't seen that podcast, go to the previous video. Sergeant Dupuy talks about musicians in the military and how to become a musician. So go back there and watch it. It was a great podcast.
So I have a question for you two. So when you guys first joined, did you guys know that we had, all these different MOS or jobs that we have in the military, like all these different trades?
I knew that there was like a wide variety of jobs, but I didn't know there would be like trades, and like if you think about it, the military is kind of their own little like world. So they have to have all the parts that make our world go. So like obviously they're gonna have different parts, but I wasn't sure about like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, they probably have it. So definitely helpful.
Yeah. So what about you?
Same thing. I honestly did not know that there were that many. And then even with like the officer candidate jobs as well, like technically I'm an officer candidate, and I don't know, it is pretty awesome. Like there's a variety for everybody, I think.
And I think for the like jobs too, there's also a lot of ways to go about them. So like to become an officer, there's not only like one route you have to take, or and you can change your job. But
yeah, now that you mentioned that, so you guys joining, you guys planning to both to be officers, and one thing is you can rebranch at any time. You can for those that go in enlisted route, you can reclass at any time. Going about that, how many MOS did you have, Sergeant?
So I have 4 MOSs.
You see.
I started off as a military police, which is a 31 Bravo. So just a little bit backstory. So for me, I was a military police in the Virginia Army National Guard. Volunteered for deployment, so they were looking for people who knew how to do convoy security. So we volunteered. There was about 10 of us who volunteered for deployment, and to be on someone else's books or their TDA, we had to reclass to 88 mics. So I became an 88 mic. It was about a 1-month transition course. So 88 mics, a motor transport operator, drove a lot of different trucks. After deployment, moved here to Colorado, which I found a unit there in Alamosa because that's where my wife is from. So what's interesting, I know Sergeant Rivera said it's a small world, and the readiness NCO at the time when I went to that unit was also from Virginia. Little did I know we were drilling in the same building in Virginia.
Yeah, it's so small.
So, I told him, hey, I'm trying to transfer over. I'm a 31 Bravo, and I have 88 Mike. But that was, quite some ways out. So I was like, hey, I don't mind going to infantry school. So I became an 11 Bravo, and from there kind of started out my career in the AGR world. AGR is your Active Guard Reserve. So I was a unit administrator out there from 2015 to 2017. Then I went to the infantry battalion to help out with S1 and S3. After that, 2018 is when I came to recruiting, and then I reclassed to 79 Tango, which is your recruiting and retention, NCO. So 4 different MOSs, and who gets to have, different skill sets, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know how I got into, just doing all these things, but I think it's great. One of the few branches say, hey, you can reclass. And I think when it comes to retention, I think that's something that the battalion is doing now. So if there's a unit out there that, like say, hey, I want a different skill set, or I want to try something different, I think that's something that's already in the works, to where, hey, I might be an 11 Bravo, but I want to try something different.
Yeah, and not only that, if you want to promote and you feel like there's certain MOS, like my MOS is super tight. They don't have too much slots because it doesn't make sense to have like 300 public affairs. It's like we need infantry. That's infantry, artillery, MPs. That's the strongest ones here in Colorado. So all their MOSs are smaller, so you need to move around. And I mentioned the previous podcast, like I'm an item only MOS, my first MOS, which is construction equipment repair, and I appear to be eligible for promotion. And I'm like, you know what? I'm probably gonna do CPMOS and see if I can get promoted there before going OCS. Being E6 will be great before going OCS. So with your career path, I think you have like several options now that you can. If I need to jump around, I have these qualifications, and I bet if you need to reclass again, you'll be like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll get paid to be trained and learn new skill sets.
I think that's the one thing that the Guard is great at, right? So Private Bauer, on the way here, I think you were telling me that you weren't really sure what you wanted to do. So what's great about the Guard is I was the same way, right? In high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but and the Guard doesn't really stop you. It just gives you an additional skill, right? Sure. It's like you add to, but you can't take away from. So for me, they didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I was in high school. I had a welding certificate. I could have welded. I was in Norfolk, Virginia, biggest naval shipyard in the nation. But that was the last time I touched the welding equipment. So, a lot of us, we have different priorities, and depending on, our career paths and what we go, and as you grow and you mature, you're going to find something that's going to interest you, and you're like, hey, I want to try that, right? But at the same time, you still have a civilian life to where you're not putting a halt on all the things that you're doing. So whether you're going to school or you already have a career, you don't have to put that on pause. But in the military side, at least for the Colorado Army National Guard, you can change it up and say, hey, I want to do something different, right? So that's just the one great thing about the Guard that I like.
Yeah, and that, that's always it's encouraging to hear like the opportunities we have. Even for me, I'm like, people come to me and say, "Hey, we have this." I'm like, "What?" I'm like even though I've been in the Guard for almost a year and a half, especially in the Colorado Army National Guard, I still like get surprised on the MOSs and opportunities and units that we have. I'm like, wait, do we have that? So
Right.
it's crazy.
And so for Private Bauer, this is more for you, right? So even though I said that, yes, drill is mandatory, right? We do accommodate you sometimes, because I know you were telling us that you played baseball.
Yep.
What other sports do you play?
Just baseball. I used to play basketball, but
Right, so
I just play baseball now.
You enlisting in the Colorado Army National Guard, did that put a stop on your high school life or the sports that you're doing in school?
Definitely not.
Right. So I think that's awesome that you can still live kind of like that full high school life and still play sports, attend the school functions that you have, and still be a part of, the National Guard family here in Colorado.
Yeah, I would say the only thing that I missed out on, I guess, would be my junior summer, but that was my choice. You don't have to do that. So there's multiple routes you can go, but even if you enlist your senior year, you can still do RSP, get paid your senior year, 1 weekend a month, and then go after. So I think it doesn't stop you from being a kid.
There's a crazy ton of options. So again, if you live down there in Alamosa, Durango, that area down there, just contact Sergeant Reyes. What your Instagram is SFC.
Specialist Martinez, he's the other recruiter.
Yeah.
With me. Yeah.
And then what's your Instagram? I think I have it here, but let me pop, because I tag you. Congratulations on this, completing mission this year.
Thank you.
So okay, your Instagram right here, SFC Reyes COARNG. This is your page. Go in there. Hear all your information, contact number, email. So you're not seeing it, but it's bigger now. So contact Sergeant Reyes. He will get you all the right information, and he will get you started. Again, Sergeant, thank you for coming here. I wanna first, before we go, I wanna mention something that we have upcoming. So we have if you're interested in the Special Forces, we will have 8 June 2024 Denver. We will have the Special Forces Challenge, and we used to have in the past what we used to call Hell Day. This is different now. So this is tailored for those who want to become a Green Beret. So again, come here, try it out. It will be great. It's run by SOCOM Athlete. So our QR code is on the page. So just go in there and enroll. It's totally free. We basically cover that, so you'll have everything you need to become Special Forces.
Yeah. So I think this is a great thing that they're doing. I did enlist someone who did the Hell Day a while back, and he's currently I think getting ready for SFAS. So he's gone through the whole basic training, 11 Bravo AIT, and now he's getting ready to do that, and he got a lot of experience doing that. So I think that's huge for anyone who is wanting to, be part of the special operations community.
Yeah, that's great. So another thing, you have upcoming what upcoming events we have on your area?
So in June there's going to be the Alamosa Roundup.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 different weekends for that. So you have June 15 and then the following weekend after that. But yeah, I can send that out to you, or just look out for the Instagram page as far as kind of like a save the date.
Yeah.
But other events on top of that, we have the Summerfest in the Rio. Is just a big community event there at Cole Park in Alamosa. So if you're in town, definitely check it out. Big community event. So.
And then after that, you say is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving?
Yep,
Is
Wednesday before Thanksgiving break. In the Alamos area, I know we, in the state we have different.
That'll be the
breaks.
career fair.
Correct. Yep.
And then something I want to mention about the Alamosa Roundup is that is multiple events that you're gonna be having, right? It's like a rodeo.
Yep, and then one weekend is gonna be a demolition derby.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you see us and if you see Sergeant Reyes down there, just come by, say hi, and we will clarify your questions. Anything else you guys want to add?
I would just like to say too, also, like, you don't have to be enlisted to come to RSP. Like, if you're like a civilian, you can just find somebody, reach out, be like, hey, I want to try this, and then you can
I think
about it.
We have someone today there, Sergeant Norcross, and someone who I think he's too young to join right now, but he wants to see how he and I had the pleasure to speak to him earlier this week, and I was like, just be ready. This is the things you want to see. You will see. Just address the sergeants like sergeants. Because over here, once they come here, it's more relaxed. But over there, you are expected. Even though you're not there, try to watch how they do it, and start getting that. So by the moment you join, you already again have a head start, and you are ahead of everybody. One thing we do on this podcast before we close, who you would like to challenge? We'll start with you. Who would you like to challenge to come on the podcast? It could be another RSP soldier or cadre or someone who's currently serving,
I'm going to challenge Sergeant Martinez.
Sergeant Martinez. Amanda.
Yes.
That's great.
For me, I want to challenge my sister because she has like that ROTC background, so I think that would definitely.
What's your sister name?
Bauer, Cadet Bauer, Brooke Bauer.
Okay.
I don't know how to. Would it be Cadet Bauer? I don't know how to address that.
And she's UCCS.
Yes.
Okay. She's down there with
928.
Yeah. Yep. So your sister, Sergeant Martinez. What about you, Sergeant Reyes?
So for me, I would say Specialist Martinez. So he works for me down in Alamosa. He's doing great things with Adams State University, and I think he's doing a lot of logistics as far as how to help veterans or those who are in the Guard to get them to higher education and hopefully finish their bachelor's or master's degree. So I think he would definitely be a good one to come talk a little bit about that.
So Sergeant Martinez, Cadet Bauer, Specialist Martinez, you up next. We will contact you and see when you guys can come by. Again, thank you for coming here. I know you guys gotta head out and get back to training. I want to thank you to come for coming here. If you're liking the content, go below, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, so whenever we upload a video, you get notified and you don't miss out on those. CO National Guard, Instagram and Facebook, CO National Guard. And again, Sergeant, let's go back, Sergeant Reyes, SFC _ Reyes _ COARNG. That's his Instagram. Get there. He has his email out there, work phone number there. So just contact him, and he will get you started. Anything else, Sergeant?
No, that's it. Just follow the Instagram page, follow the podcast. I just want to say again, thank you for having us. So
yes, thank you very much, Sergeant.
Again, it's a pleasure meeting you and having you. And hopefully, this is not the first time we have people from RSP coming and doing and telling their stories, because as I mentioned before, the reason you join is not the same reason I joined, or it might not be this. It might be similar, it might not be the same. And I think everybody's story is important, and that's why we are here. To push out and let people know that this is a great option for your career, and there's the Colorado Army National Guard will change your life. That's for sure.
Yes, no, I definitely agree. Again, just thanks for having us. So if you guys have any more questions as far as, Colorado Army National Guard, definitely get on the website, do a little bit of research, but also try to get in touch with your, local and closest recruiter.
That's great. Well, this is a podcast. Let's go. Good job.
Sweet.